As we all know, this year was a huge year in politics. From the debates about the presidential candidates to the Black Lives Matter movement to the pandemic of COVID-19, there had been a lot of arguing going on. This year especially. The political issue of the Electoral College came up, again, and whether or not it should still exist. Referring to my questionnaire, the class average of understanding the Electoral College is 7.2. For those who have little knowledge on this topic, allow me to explain. The Electoral College is a group of electors that form together every 4 years, as required by the Constitution, to elect a president and vice president. There is 538 members total, and the Electoral College is based off of the number of representatives each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives, plus 2 senators per state. After looking at the results of my questionnaire, 67 people favor the option of reform rather than the abolishment of the Electoral College, or even keeping it how it is. The 12th Amendment, which established the Electoral College, was ratified in 1804. That was over 200 years ago. States have been added to the United States, societal norms have changed, and I think it's time we reform the Electoral College to fulfill its current needs. Now, this year, I was able to vote in the presidential election for the first time, and I was worried that the candidate that I wanted to win still had a possibility of losing due to the Electoral College. So, from discussing it with my friends to social media, this was a worry among more people than I thought. In 2016, with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, this happened. According to New York Times, Hillary had 65,853,625 votes. That was 48% of all the votes casted. Trump had 62,985,106. That's about 45.9% of the votes. Now, Donald Trump ended up winning with 306 electoral votes, whereas Hillary only had 232. 7 electors voted for someone other than what their state wanted. Because of this, Trump became president. Now, America is so divided over political parties that no one really chooses what the state wants, but more so what their party is represented by. If the Electoral College voted based off of the state, like they're supposed to, technically Hillary should have won. Only 29 states have legal control over how their electors cast their votes, and it must be based off of popular vote. And if they don't, there's only some repercussions. Often they only pay like $1,000 fee. This means 21 states don't, so they can choose whoever they want, not even looking at the popular vote. So 200 years is a long time. There's no way that the Founding Fathers, who were tired of arguing for months about how to elect a president, planned on the Electoral College existing the way it does hundreds of years later. This was their last hope of an idea in that specific time period. They didn't know that centuries later, where there's so much radical change going on, we'd still be using this outdated policy. There was no such thing as a political party back then. It was based off of the 3/5 compromise because half of the South was made up of African American slaves. This allowed the states to have more representatives because they did not want the slaves to be counted as a person, but they wanted to have a bigger voice in the election. The Electoral College forces politicians to pay attention to the smaller states, but even with its intentions, politicians don't have to campaign in every single state. So by this I mean a Republican like Donald Trump is not going to waste his time in Massachusetts, which is a Democratic state and has been. The Electoral College mostly favors the battleground states such as Pennsylvania or Florida. These states are often swing states with a lot of electoral votes. The Electoral College is supposed to provide representation to each state no matter the size, but how is it doing that if the election mainly comes down to these swing states? A way of reform could be adopting what Nevada and Maine do. They use the congressional district method, and it allows the winner of each district to be awarded one of the electoral votes. This means the electoral votes can be split between the states. The winner of the statewide vote gets the remaining 2 electoral votes. Doing this would encourage its candidates to campaign in more states than the battleground states, providing even more statewide representation. The Constitution in itself should be reformed and changed to fit societal needs. There are a lot of amendments that we still have that no longer fit issues in this time period. Today we focus on the 12th Amendment and its important and necessity of reform. If the Founding Fathers knew that the Electoral College was not perfect but suitable for the time period, why do we still use it centuries later? Everything is not the same as it was 200 years ago. Nothing was the same. Every vote is important. As a democracy republic, every voice should be heard and considered, but the Electoral College makes it very difficult to do so when half the states allow the electors to choose whoever they want. Make your voice heard. Thank you.